Then in the book we have a discussion about the problems that exist in the world that may look they conflict with divine wisdom. But I, before mention this, talk a little bit about divine justice, which comes in the same chapter after this discussion, because I think we need to have some understanding of justice, and then inshallah we will come back to this issue. Another quality of God is justice. In the Quran, interestingly, we have so much emphasis on justice. But when it comes to God, we don't have any single verse which says God is just. It always talks about God not being unjust. Okay, so you don't find any ayah in the Quran which says God is adil. But you find many verses that says God would not do injustice, even to the slightest. This point by itself is something that we can explain maybe another time. But this leaves no chance for someone said that God is unjust, because Quran very clearly in many places says that he doesn't do injustice. So he's not unjust, he is just. And in our hadiths, the quality of justice is mentioned for God. But I think Quran, for maximum accuracy that it has, and because God's treatment is more than justice, so the focus of the Quran is on saying that he is not unjust. And when it comes to explaining his actions, it's more than justice, more matter of mercy, more matter of wisdom and other things. Because justice is the minimum, justice is the basic, and God is observing not only justice, even above justice. Anyway, that's another issue. No doubt among Muslims that God is just. There was an issue among Muslim theologians. Inshallah, when you study Kalam, you will see this in details, about understanding of justice, interpretation of justice. Some people who are known as Ash'arites in Islam, and we have similar ideas in Christianity and Judaism. And even in philosophy, this is discussed from the time of Plato. If you have studied Western ethics or philosophy, you know there is a theory called divine command theory. This is very much the idea of the Ash'arites. According to them, God does everything with justice. But if you'd ask them what is justice, they said justice is what God does. Or if it comes to human beings, what is justice? What God commands to do. So they don't have any prior, any independent understanding of justice. They try to define justice by saying this is what God does or this is what God wants. Because they had the idea that if we want to say there is an independent criteria for justice, it means that then God has to observe them. Then God becomes subordinate. So they say no. Whatever God says, it's justice. For example, if God says or does, either for himself or telling us, that beating an orphan is okay, then this is justice. Sending a pious people to hell is okay, then they say this is justice. He has said it in different way, but he could have said it in that way. Okay? It means that being kind to an orphan or not being kind, by itself, they are the same. By themselves, they are the same. Because God has asked us to be kind to orphans, then we have to be kind. He could have said it in a different way. Or for example, God says, I reward you for doing good things. But he could have said, I punish you for doing good things. So these people who are very religious people, but unfortunately they are not very well trained intellectually and philosophically, and you find them very much also in other traditions, not only in Islam, you find them in Christianity and Judaism. They have this idea that values like justice should be all learned from religion, because we have no way of understanding them, because they are not objective. The Shiites and also Mu'tazilites from the Sunnis theologians, they said that this is wrong, and indeed this is destroying the whole idea of religion. It looks you are very religious, but in reality this means that you are uprooting religion. Because if we don't believe in independent criteria for goodness and badness, justice and injustice, then it means that we cannot even prove in the first place that religion is true. For example, please, watch or listen to the lectures later again, because these things may be difficult, but please listen again so that you familiarize yourself more. For example, if we see a man who is claiming to be prophet, and inshallah, as we will discuss in the discussion about Nubuwwah, he has brought something which fulfills all the requirements for mu'jiza, miracle. A miracle has a clear definition. Inshallah, we'll talk about it. So he has done something that has all the requirements for mu'jiza. Like, for example, Jesus reviving the dead. Okay. So we know that this is not a human action. We know that this must be something that is helped by God. So God's power has enabled this person to revive the dead. Okay. Now there is a question. This person says that I am sent by God and he has done this. And this is done by God. God has helped him. Why God would not help someone who is a liar? What is logically wrong with this idea if we say someone has brought a miracle, but he's a liar and God still has helped him? The only way to prove that this man is a true prophet is to say that we rationally understand that it's impossible that God gives miraculous power to a person who wants to misguide people. If you don't have this rational understanding, you cannot use Quran or Bible or Hadith, because we have not yet believed in religion. So the only reason why we don't accept such possibility, we don't even take it seriously, because we know that it's impossible that God gives miraculous power to a person who wants to cheat, a person who wants to misguide. So, as you see, proving religion depends on accepting the ability of human beings to have, at least to some extent, their rational and independent understanding of what is right and what is wrong. I always mention this hadith from Imam Hussein alayhi salam when I come to this point. On the day of Ashura, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he saw the enemies going towards the tents where children, ladies were there, he said, "Illam yakun lakum din, وَكُنْتُمْ لَا تَخَافُونَ الْمَعَادِ فَكُونُوا أَحْرَارًا فِي دُنْيَاكُمْ. If you have no religion and you don't fear the hereafter, at least be noble in your worldly life. So this means that you don't need to be taught by religion. You don't need to believe in religion so that you understand the basics of akhlaq. Even if you are not a believer, if you are an atheist, or you are a person who is skeptical, a person who has not yet set and made his mind, you are still searching, no problem. Still you have to understand the basics of akhlaq. You should understand that you should not attack women and children. So, the Shiites and Mu'tazilites from the Sunni Islam, they had the idea that justice is an issue which can be understood rationally and independent from religion. Religion comes not to tell us this is justice and you just take it no matter whether it is fitting with our conscience or not. Religion is not there to say kindness and not being kind are the same, but you have to be kind. This doesn't make sense. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna Allah ya'muru bil adl. God commands you to be just, wal ihsan, and benevolent. So this means that we have some understanding of adl. We have some understanding of ihsan. And God commands us to observe. Yes, from religion we understand many details. We understand much better what are the requirements of justice. So, the Shia and the Mu'tazilites were called Al-Adliyah, the people of justice, for this reason. Although all Muslims believe that God is just, but because for them justice is a serious issue. For them justice is something that you can have independent understanding of justice, then they were called Al-Adliyah. According to the Shiites and the people who are like them from other schools of Islam, anything that is against justice is not committed by God, and it's not advised or asked by God. The only people who do injustice, the only people who also command injustice, are the people who are weak. There's a beautiful hadith which says, إِنَّمَا يَحْتَاجُ إِلَى الظُّلْمِ الضَّعِيفِ. The only people who need injustice are those who are weak. Why they do injustice? Either they want to take money of people without having any rights. Either they want to take power and they want to control people. Or for example, they want to be famous. So it means that they have a need inside for money, for position, for, fame, whatever. And they think by injustice they can satisfy themselves. They can meet their needs. If someone is absolutely rich, why he should do injustice? Or someone who is absolutely good, why he should do injustice? Someone is absolutely powerful, why he should do injustice? إِنَّمَا يَحْتَاجُ إِلَى الظُّلْمِ الضَّعِيفِ. So, when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He does everything according to the requirements of justice. He doesn't do any injustice. And you have also to remember one important point. And this is despite the fact that no one has any right over God. Still he doesn't do injustice. Me and you, we are independent somehow from each other, in the sense that our being, our existence, our creation is independent. Neither you have created me nor I have created you. Yeah? But still we have some interactions. There are ways that we need each other. There are ways that we can help each other. There are ways that we can mistreat each other. So here justice is very obvious. I should observe your rights. I shouldn't, violate your rights. But with respect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no one independent from him. There is no one who has anything that he can claim that you owe me. I have done something for you, or I have something of my own. With respect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one has anything to claim. Indeed, when we talk about God's justice, it's about those issues that God himself has promised us. For example, we had to do good things anyway. But he says, if you do good things, I reward you. So if he doesn't keep his promise of rewarding, we say this is zulm. But he was not required to give this promise in the first place as far as our rights are concerned. It's his mercy that in order to encourage us to be good, he promises us to reward. Like, for example, a teacher wants to encourage the students to learn better, to work harder, to study better. So he says those who get good results, I take them, for example, to a trip. Those then who study and get good results, now they have a right to be taken to the trip. But this is not the right that they had by themselves. This is not their essential right. This is the right which is there because he had promised them. But why he had promised them? He didn't owe them. It was his own kindness, the kindness and mercy of the teacher, that not only he made himself available for them, not only he taught them everything in the good way, but also he went further and promised them to do something which was not necessary, just in order to encourage them. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't owe any person. And when we talk about his justice, is about the things that he has promised to give us.